Bowling with the Pfaff.
Bowling with the Pfaff.
Are you ready?
Ready. Your bowling stories.
They found you.
They did.
Pfaff's all over.
Every week.
Bowling has picked back up again.
Live.
UW Whitewater.
There it is.
Why the fedora? Do I look good in it?
I think you look great in it.
I want to challenge Skylar Pence.
Mike Hatton.
I'm going to challenge Alec Keplinger.
Let's do this.
Roll 'em.
This is Bowling with the Pfaff.
Well, good Wednesday evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Pfaff, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live right here on our YouTube channel. It is a rainy Wednesday where I am, and I know that south of me there have been some weather concerns, so hopefully all is well where you are. And we have a fantastic guest tonight that I'm going to get to in just a moment here. Can't wait to share his story with you. But I do want to start out this episode by talking about one of our previous guests, twice over, in fact, and that is Nicole Landry. She announced on Facebook earlier today that she is medically retiring from bowling. Nicole has been dealing with some issues, some physical injuries during the past few years and mental health concerns stemming from what she describes as drama, disrespect, and letdowns. She did compete on the PWBA tour for a time and had a runner-up finish at a regional event in 2017. Nicole also was the head coach at Upper Iowa University for their men's and women's teams before that school dropped its bowling program 2 years ago. And on a personal note, you know, Nicole hired me to live stream an NCAA tournament there in Iowa called the Peacock Classic for 2022 and 2023. And that was really important for me and for Bowling with the Pfaff. That's led to many different live streaming opportunities in other tournaments near and far. And I'll really always be grateful for those first opportunities, because it opened up all kinds of other opportunity and future potential for this channel and live streaming in bowling, which is something that I love to do. So of course, we wish the best for Nicole, and hopefully she maintains some involvement in the sport, because as I said on Facebook, bowling is absolutely better with Nicole Landry involved in it. And one of those opportunities, those live stream opportunities, is coming up in early August. It's right here, Al and Briley's Golf and Bowl. It's in Owatonna, Minnesota on August 2nd and 3rd. Listen to the names on this roster: Wesley Lowe, Ryan Barnes, Alec Keplinger, Brady Stearns, AJ Chapman, Mitch Hoope, Zach Andreessen, just a few on that mega talented roster of folks who are going to participate in both the golfing at a course in Faribault, Minnesota, and then the bowling live from Spare Time Entertainment. That's the part you'll see on the Bowling with the Pfaff channel live. And we'll also do a preview show on July 22nd at 7 p.m. Central. It's going to be a great time. Hope everyone can join either live or on replay. Don't forget, we do have an official merch store on Etsy.com. Easy for me to say. Etsy.com/shop/bowling with the Pfaff Co. T-shirts and hoodies on demand for you right there. And our sponsors, Jerry's Score More Bowling Supply inside Wagner's Lanes in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Give them a call if you need anything bowling related: bowling balls, bowling accessories, coaching. He's got it all. 715-559-1822. Visionary Video Hub, your full-service video production business, plus live streaming, voiceover, and podcasting. You can find out more at visionaryvideohub.com. And Chip Magnet Salsa, where we encourage you to raise your snack standards by trying a six-pack order of a Chip Magnet. Try Wildly Delicious or maybe a little mango salsa. And if you do order 6 of them on chipmagnetsalsa.com, enter this promo code at checkout, BWTF2025. You will get 25% off your order with no limit there. It's a great deal. You can also find Chip Magnet in many grocery stores across the country and on Amazon. Just search for the Chip Magnet store and stock up. It's great stuff, if I do say so myself. Well, our guest tonight traveled a good chunk of the country in the last few days to take part in one of the more prestigious wheelchair bowling events in America. The Paralyzed Veterans of America is bowling tournament series, rather, is in Omaha, Nebraska, starting tomorrow. The Great Plains Bowling Tournament runs through Sunday. It's at Mockingbird Lanes in Omaha, and the participants compete for prizes. And Frank Goebel traveled all the way from New York to participate in this event. And he is joining us live from Omaha tonight, or near Omaha, I should say, right?
Close enough, yes.
Close enough. Well, welcome to the show, Frank. And thank you so much for kind of fitting this into your schedule. I know we had some kind of ups and downs with the scheduling, but I appreciate your flexibility. Let's start out with this event. What's it all about, and what does it mean to you to be there participating?
This happens to be the national for the Paralyzed Veterans of America. Back in 2019, this was the location where I did my very first wheelchair tournament, and I didn't know anyone. The man that I met that became my doubles partner for the tournament, we wound up winning that event. So I got a trophy on my first time in this area. The tournament this weekend is the second time it's known as the National for the PVA. I happen to be the defending champion in the A handicap division. However, I am not going to be defending that title. I'm going to be moving over to the scratch division this year.
Okay. And that's interesting to me. Take me through that, that decision for you. Why did you move divisions?
Well, there is no minimum average for scratch, nor is there a cap for handicap. It's a matter of personal choice. But generally, once you're getting above 160, even in the mid 150s, you're starting to get to where these bowlers are going to be at that level. And my league average, I finished at 160 in 2 leagues this season. So it's, and I think that going forward, my average is going to be creeping towards 170. So I'm starting to feel a need to move into the scratch division, accept a heavier challenge, and go with it.
Sure. You mentioned, kind of bowling some of these tournaments early in your tenure in wheelchair bowling and not knowing a lot of people. What's it going to be like this weekend? Do you know pretty much everybody there?
Just about everybody. I mean, even though it's not an AWBA tournament per se, just about everybody bowling and participating has some connection to the AWBA and is a member of that. And these are people that I crave being around because they are such a great group of people. Everyone has their own story to tell about their disability, how it came about, and some of the triumphs and tragedies that they've had. It's a great partnership and brotherhood. I can't say enough nice things about it.
Yeah. And, veterans being the core of this, if you've watched this show before, I'm a huge, huge fan of folks who have made that type of sacrifice in their lives, yourself included. So I guess let me say, the cliche, thank you for your service, but also, kudos on, everybody's accomplishments and abilities to be out there at a great event like this.
And just to be sure, both the AWBA and the Paralyzed Vets do not require veteran status to be a member and to bowl. That's one thing that we both honor, because there are people that because of their disability never could serve. So we still allow them to bowl. It's a great thing. We have more people that way.
Yeah, that's awesome because everybody wants to be a part of a great event. And it sounds like you've got a great one there in Nebraska this weekend. I want to pull up a picture because your twin brother, Rich, is in this. He's, if I'm correct here, he's in the yellow, or is he?
Yes.
He's in the yellow. Okay. And Dave Nelson in the Now, you had an interesting kind of match between you and your twin brother where you competed for a championship, which made a little history in your organization. Tell us about that.
Well, going back we haven't gone through how a tournament works, but the singles is a 15 game, sometimes 12. qualifiers. Then we cut to the top 5 for stepladder. And as things stood after 4 squads, 12 games were done, I was leading. My brother was sitting in 7th place with 3 games to go. And I just gave him the simple reminder, hey, they're going to pay the top 10. So you're sitting in 7th right now. Just keep your cool. Don't drop down below 10th. If you can gain a couple spots, if you bowl halfway decent, you never know. You might move up to 5th place, make it to the step ladder, and who knows what will happen. Well, it just turns out Rich and I were bowling together on that squad Sunday morning with a guy from Colorado, Doug, who was the 3 of us just had a great great squad, all 3 of us. Rich had his first 4-bagger or ham bone in that set as a wheelchair bowler, broke 500 for the first time, vaulted from 7th to 2nd. So for the step ladder, he only needed to bowl 1 game, which he managed to win. And that set up him and me bowling for the championship.
Wow. And what is that like? I mean, my brother's not a bowler, so I'll never have that experience. And I can't imagine many have. But what's that like with all that on the line, to look across the pair and, kind of stare down your brother, as it were?
Well, we weren't staring each other down. We are at 2 different levels. I'm a higher competitive, was able to retain my bowling the whole time. My military service was reserve, so I never stopped being a regular league bowler. My brother was active Navy, so he didn't really get into regular league bowling like I did. And when he retired, he didn't get into league afterward either. So he pretty much got back into it after he saw all the fun I was having. So what I did, though, as the tournament leader, I had the right to decide who finishes on the right or left lane, or first or second. And I just simply opted to have him finish, because if he were to bowl for the win, I wanted him to throw the final ball. Sure. It didn't work out that way. His game still needed a little more development. I threw a 1 open game, easy victory in that case. So but there was no bitterness involved, because the 3, Rich and I had been partnered with the 3rd guy that we met last year, and we came in. Wasn't Dave. I can't remember the guy's name, but we finished in 3rd place in the 3-bowler team event that happened on Thursday that year. So we still had something to take home, just the same.
Yeah, and you've got that memory that will probably last for the rest of your lives, I'm guessing. And it's always cool to have a moment like that, because that's a special thing that no one can take away from you, which is awesome. You were recently on the Joe the Pro live stream, which I love. Joe was a previous guest. In fact, Joe was the one who kind of made the connection between us. This was his off the sheet challenge when he came on.
And my 3rd and final nominee here is Frank Goebel. So he is somebody who used to post videos of these machines working on YouTube. He was a pin chaser, back in the day. And he is now the secretary of the American Wheelchair Bowling Association.
So, enough to unpack there. But that was also the time when you kind of unveiled your mascot, who you call Ruben. Tell us about the story behind that, because it sounds like Joe has a mascot as well, correct?
Yes, they found an abandoned teddy bear at the bowling center there, and it was they named it Mr. Boston because it has a Boston Red Sox cap glued to it, as well as a tiny baseball bat and a small Red Sox jersey. And before I did a feedback on him way back in November, and I had the wheelchair, the teddy bear wheelchair, sent there to put Mr. Boston in as a prelude to me coming in. And as we were doing the feed that night, I said, you know what, maybe I could make a full wheelchair mascot. So I went back to Build-A-Bear, and I went to I Am Bowling, and had a jersey made up. In fact, the jersey I'm wearing at the moment matches the one that Ruben has. Ruben was a nickname I was given in college from couple of neighbors who they were watching reruns of the Partridge Family. So, and I guess Reuben Kincaid was the connection there.
Okay.
And the other thing is that the shoes that you see, I had decided to email the Cubica AMF people and say, hey, could I purchase a pair of shoes, because I didn't want to steal a pair from a house. I didn't want a mascot that was brand new and clean wearing leftover beat up rental shoes. And they sent me a couple of pairs of samples.
Oh, cool.
So that's the one thing I didn't pay for when I built Reuben the mascot.
Okay. And as you told me before the show, if you look over Frank's right shoulder, there he is. He's there in the shot. What's the significance though when you have Reuben with you? Is it more than just kind of a good luck charm?
Yeah, in fact, that's really not why it's out. It's a conversation piece. I have had total strangers come over and talk to me about it. Reuben's got the jersey on. I don't always, but if I go someplace for the first time, I have people come over and just chat, and it's a great tool to tell people that I'm not just one man bowling out of a wheelchair. I'm a part of a group of 100 people around the country. They're having a good time with this.
Yeah, for sure. So let's kind of take it back to when you started in our sport. You weren't always a wheelchair bowler, but that kind of came as you went through life. But tell us about kind of your origins in the sport.
Well, in my case, I didn't do much youth bowling at all, but I had some toy pins when I was a young kid. And there was also a local television show that was on Channel 6. There was a man by the name of Howard Tupper who did a local show. And I was just enamored with bowling. I just fell in love with it. And then one fateful night, my grandparents took me to the local bowling center where my father was bowling. And oh, look, there's your dad bowling right now. It's the first time I saw bowling firsthand. Dad got up and just threw the most gentle ball down a lane, a perfect strike, and I was smitten. I was about 5 years old, and I don't know if tried to bowl that night, and I found out that I couldn't very well. I wound up being very angry, but I still was intent on learning how to bowl. I will tie into Joe one thing about his start though. There's the same thing with him. As a youngster, I thought the pins were in a straight row, and what my father did with me with the toy pins, we went to the basement of our ranch house, and he set the pins up in a triangle for me to see how they really are. Then he let me roll a ball through them and said, "That's what a strike is like." And again, I continued to be smitten by the sport.
Yeah. What did that involve for you? I mean, as Joe said, you worked on the machines at one point, but how did you go about getting better and, and less angry?
Well, it was just a matter of getting bigger, and I would go whenever I could get a couple dollars or get my grandparents to take me. It hit or miss. We were a family of 5, and my parents didn't want to get to me tied up in bowling when they had the other kids, my other younger brothers to be taken care of. So I kind of lost out on some of the youth bowling as much as I would have liked to. But when high school came along, I was able to try out for the bowling team anyway. My father gave me a deal. If you make the team, I'll buy you a ball. And I got a 15-pound white dot with what they call a semi-fingertip grip at the time. Sure. They don't do that anymore. But again, that was a big deal in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that like, that feeling of, making that team? I mean, obviously you feel good because bowling ball's coming your way, but if not everybody makes it, that's pretty cool.
Well, most of us did. I mean, the thing was, at the time we had a JV team, and there was no stipulation that it couldn't be JV.
Okay.
But I was bent on it and tried to go as much as I could. Again, it wasn't easy to go when I would like to. I didn't get as much through coaching as today's kids really get. But sure. I still persevered.
Yeah. Where does that perseverance come from? Is that something that you think you got from dad, or was it somewhere else?
It probably a combination of just being wanting to be as good as other guys, growing up and watching the Pro Bowlers tour as a kid, just imagining myself on there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Were there any particular pros that you either emulated or really, had an affinity for?
I got a liking for Tita Semez when I was quite young,
Hmm.
as well as Wayne Webb, uh, Earl Anthony, Mark Roth. I could drop a lot of names here, but I like seeing different people, new faces every week. Pete Couture comes to mind. I actually had the chance to meet him at some point as a young adult. Uh, so it was good. And plus, I also enjoyed watching Bo Burton doing the tip of the week.
Yeah.
That was my must watch every week. I'm not sure if you remember the Rolaids. You're a few years younger than me, so you may not remember as much as I did in that regard. But he did
Yeah.
a tip of the week. Those things were invaluable.
Yeah. I think they had a different sponsor by the time I got to it, but yep, I remember for sure. Yeah.
And he had a great way of talking to people too.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. And there are a lot of people who, who still consider him the standard and don't want to deviate from that. But that's because he was great at what he did and, carried a huge viewership for ABC all those years. When you talk about high school bowling, that can mean, different things because each state does it a little differently. What was the format like when you were in it?
Well, it was a scratch competition. We had a match play where you would line up everybody, lead against lead, second against second, and so on between the two schools. It was a small schools network. We would sometimes get three teams going on simultaneously. So we do a three-way match going on. So there would be a match between two schools. One school would host. Sometimes it would just be varsity only. And again, part of the perseverance was I went to the coach and said, "Hey, if we're going to if there's a match that's only varsity, can I tag along on the bus and bowl on the side while they're having their match?" And he let me go. And I was subbed in as a freshman and did fairly well. Now that I think about it, I hadn't even thought about that coming into this forum.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sure it showed that coach that you were willing to put in the work, to keep improving, which is, I guess, important for any athlete in any sport, but especially
Right.
team competition like that. What do you think you learned about maybe the sport or yourself even as you made your way through those years of high school and continued your bowling?
Well, as with life and everything else, life is going to have ups and downs along the way. There's going to be successes. There's going to be failures. Part of it is learning how to move on after a failure, but also to be happy for another bowler. The one thing, someone on the opposing team shoots a very big score. At the time, I was very jealous and would get rather sour about it. Or if it was a teammate did something and I wasn't part of the celebration. I've grown from that. And on the wheelchair side now, I don't care what a bowler's level is. I celebrate every success that bowler has, especially when it's a split conversion or a new personal high. I like to celebrate along with them, even if I'm in a match play game against them. I still want them to succeed.
Yeah, that's a great way to be. After high school, did you pursue bowling in college?
We had a local community college, and the coach bowled with my dad. He did a little more hands-on coaching than I got in high school. But again, I wasn't quite at the level. I didn't bowl as a live participant more than a few times because of that. But I still went along in every match. I was around people who were cognitive about the sport, more so than high school. High school is more recreational. College is more competitive. I'm glad I did it. I still maintain a friendship with one of the guys. And it's watched him bowl an 800 back in 1985, I believe it was.
Wow.
When he was 19, I were 19 at the time. And I was still just amazed that someone could actually break 800 at that age.
Yeah. And 800 in 85 means a whole lot more than 800 does today because of the
Yep.
advances in technology and all that. That's awesome. You go on and you continue bowling, and like you said, you entered the service, you were in the reserves. How did you balance that? Was it kind of a balancing act, or was it pretty easy to continue with the sport while being involved in that service?
The military affected my bowling all that much. Our battalion would occasionally have an annual tournament. I did get a trophy one year. Fortunately, in my case, it was more balancing with work than it would be with the military.
Okay.
But someone in an active service member like my brother, you would have a harder time because you'd go out in a deployment or something and wouldn't be able to maintain a league in the same manner that I did.
Sure.
I was full time the whole way.
Okay. And how long was that for you?
I did 11 years.
Okay.
Thing was, the condition that I have started to show a little bit of symptoms that I was getting further along, and I was having a hard time passing the run portion of the physical fitness test. So I just decided to cut it at 11 years, even though people have said I should have stayed longer, and maybe if I got a medical discharge, things might have turned out differently for me, but you never know.
Yeah, you never do. Tell us about that condition and how it affected your bowling.
Well, I could write a real book about that one. I have hereditary spastic paraplegia, which is a rare disease. I'll go off on a side here real quick. That Rare Disease Day is the last day of February every year. It's celebrated internationally. My brother and I both have an issue where the leg muscles do not get a signal to relax. So the striding becomes a problem. Now, initially, it's just a matter of, in our case, dragging our toes a little bit, making a little bit of noise, not being able to stride properly, not being able to run very well. And in high school, I also ran track, but I could not run very fast, but I could run far. I could bicycle forever at the same time. As we got older, a little more noise. We invested in trekking poles to get around, but stayed bowling. Meanwhile, my bowling was at its best when I was about 35, 38 years old. It's a couple of seasons I managed to average 200, but as things were starting to kick in, I started to compress a 5-step delivery in 5 feet of approach, just so I could maintain the cadence of the footwork. I have no videos of that, but I still managed to bowl very well. But one night, things started to go really south on me. Now, I became the secretary of a very large league, but I had one night where I bowled 2 games in the 120s, and if I wasn't the secretary, I would have ended everything that night. It was that bad. I was just staggering to the foul line. I couldn't keep myself. But the one thing is I became a coach as well through the youth program, as well as USA Bowling, and I knew about the 1-step drill. So I decided that night to bowl as a 1-stepper, and I scored in the 180s. I did that for 11 years before going wheelchair.
Okay.
During those 11 years, I had 3. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, tell us about, how that made things, I don't want to say easier, but more doable for you.
It kept me in the game. I still managed to average as high as 193 over those 11 years. I had at least 3 or 4 700s, a pair of 260s in one night. I had a chance at a 236 triplicate that I decided to throw a strike in the last ball for a 246. And yeah, I even converted the 4 up the middle split twice as a 1-step bowler, and I hit the 277 mark twice as well.
Okay.
So the 1-step kept me in the game.
Yeah. Was it the balance? Was it the, slower pace?
I don't know. If I was able to stand and still take 1 step at the foul line and throw the ball, and I really kept with it. Although my ball speed I didn't get as many messenger 10s as I would have liked. I was watching all my friends do, and I felt a little left out on that, but I was still bowling.
Yeah,
And great
Yeah.
camaraderie with the leagues where I was the secretary as well.
for sure. Yeah. What was it? I guess interesting to you about being an officer in the league, because I cannot think of a time where I was like, "Ooh, I want to be the president of the league or the secretary of the league." But the people who are in those spots, they really have a deep interest in doing that.
Yes, and they take a lot of abuse from some people from time to time when they have a question about the rules. But my brother even used the same three words when I'm doing that kind of work and processing the scores, typing them in, and all that. I am in my element when I'm doing that because it's a natural thing for me to punch those numbers, to look up the average of a bowler that's going to come in the sub, or to handle a rules question. Uh, I'm not a. I don't have a. I don't have a rote memorization of the whole rule book, but if a situation arises, I'll be able to find the rule in the rule book and probably agree with what the USBC would rule
Yeah,
if something comes up.
for sure.
But I have to deal with people coming to me and say, so and so is not putting their thumb in the ball. And then I found out they're yelling at me, even though they should be yelling at the bowler that's not doing that. But it turns out the bowler was putting half of his thumb in and bowling two-handed. And but he already came down and bothered me about it.
Sure. So,
But then when it came into the wheelchair side of things, then I was already versed in dealing with that sort of conflict.
sure. Yeah. What was it that made you convert from the one step to the wheelchair?
Well, the eventually it got to the point where with the trekking poles getting around was so slow that reaching a restroom was a big challenge. I had to stop shopping at malls. I could use a power cart at a grocery store, so that was not a problem. But I said, just to getting from point A to point B, now's the time to get a wheelchair. I talked to my doctor, got a prescription, and had it delivered. And I decided to bowl that night.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to do this. Let's stop the standing bowling. Let's do the wheelchair from day one.
Yeah. What was it like early on? I mean, was it a challenge for you? I know it's kind of different in the mechanics. It looks
In
like
some ways, yes.
it looks like
Well,
most
I
put the brakes on and then go through the swing.
yes. Well, you saw me at Joe's Field Sunday night.
Yeah.
Wheel to the foul line, lock, and deliver the ball. I will tell you though, going back to that first night, I bowled a 279
Wow.
for 3 games.
Okay.
I had a 72, a 100, and a 107. But I still tell people 279 because every bowler knows that that's an 11 strike game. And of course, I have done an 11 strike 279, so I know what it's like.
Yeah.
But it's no, there's a couple things. We didn't talk about it during the feed, but a lot of wheelchairs have a hand rim on them. I have a wheel that doesn't have a hand rim, so my ball doesn't have to hit that. But I didn't take that off when I first started
Sure.
till I learned that I could do it and how to do it.
Yeah.
So once I had that off, I was doing better. But the one thing, going back to my coaching thing, is that the early drills when you're doing that kneel down or even a simple the one step is to simply start the swing plane, let the ball hang at the side, push the ball forward a little bit for a push away, let it swing back naturally, and then let it go down the lane. Don't worry about speed right away. Just get the ball, get it down the lane first, and then get it to hit a target, and then work your way to it.
Yeah. You had mentioned kind of learning things the hard way. And I know that you're in a different chair now than you were when you started wheelchair bowling, and that's this chair here. Tell us about kind of those experiences, learning things the hard way and getting into a chair that is better for bowling, or at least for your game.
Well, again, if you look there, I'm kind of down very low. My feet are out in front of me, so I've already got some things working against me at that point. The thing though is I still have my ball to my side there, so I still can swing the ball very well. but I'm not in the best posture. So it's but you will say, in case anybody is chatting in there and saying over the line, the toes can hang over the line like that as long as the chairs or my feet themselves don't touch the lane surface or the ball cap beyond the foul line. I'm good.
Okay.
But again, when you get your first wheelchair, you don't know what to ask for. The only thing I asked for at the time was I wanted zero camber, and that's basically I wanted the two wheels to be as vertical as possible. I didn't want a trapezoid like you see on those people that play basketball, tennis, and other sports out of a chair. They need something like that they can spin around. We're going to be stationary, so it's we don't need camber getting in the way of a ball swinging down the lane.
Yeah.
But when I got my first tournament again, it was in this area back in 19. Say, what'd you get that for? Why are you still using your anti-tips? Why are your wheelchairs? And why don't you have camber or caster locks? Now I don't have the a video of it, but I have pin locks that keep the front casters from pivoting when I throw the ball.
Okay.
It makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, you saw Ethan back on Saturday night or Sunday night. He was thrown out of my old chair, and he had that chair bouncing all over the place. But he wouldn't have that on the new chair because the caster pins being locked. It was a big difference.
Okay. So you have that solid foundation, and then it's basically just the one motion.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That was kind of interesting to see, to see the others give it a try. Tell me about that. What's that like to see, folks who maybe have never tried wheelchair bowling before, let her rip like that?
Well, I do the same thing I did with myself. I said, let them throw the ball without any coaching unless they want to ask me for it, and just to see what they would do. The only thing I'll tell them is that don't try to throw the ball hard because you have that, you're used to that mechanic of going forward. Now you're starting from a still, you're stationary at the line, so you don't have the body directing the ball down the lane. So you got to generate all that from your backswing and yourself, and you don't want to force it at the end.
Sure.
And that's why I bowled only 79 for my first game. I'm surprised I bowled that high.
Yeah. What are some of the things that that helped you get better at this, besides the different chair, of course? But were there parts of your physical game that you had to alter to succeed in wheelchair bowling?
Absolutely. It was just a matter of getting myself used to starting the ball at the down position, and again the whole topic of the swing plane is the one thing that I stress with anybody who wants to try this, to throw a ball. It's just there's no other way to do it, really. But it's fun. They say, well, I can see why you struggled so much. When I did my coaching, especially when I did the silver class, what they tell you is that someone who's starting bowling is going to take about 3 years to develop their game really good. And it was like starting from scratch. It took me about 3 years to where I was really confident, even able to maintain an average in the 140s, became my new norm. But again, at that 3-year mark, things really started to turn around for me.
Okay. And, you're talking about kind of the different way of generating momentum. You had a lighter ball too, right?
Right. Now, the one thing the American Wheelchair Bowling Association will do is we will send any new life member, a bowling ball. And in my case, I said, well, send me a 12-pounder because I'm not sure how I'm going to be with this. And I used it really only used it for about a month, but at least I had someone punch a ball, at least give me a grip that I could throw. And but in about a month's time, it's like, you know what? I need to go back to the 14-pound equipment. I still have the upper body strength, so there was no point in staying down like that. But 14 is about as heavy as I should go.
Okay. All right. And to be a part of this association, what does that do for you besides, getting you that first ball?
Just the people. It's really about the people. The friends that I started making for my first tournament in 2019, many of those I'm going to see this weekend. Can't wait to see them again. Dave Nelson being one of them. Again, when I first joined the AWBA, he was on the board at the time. He called me. We talked for 2 hours. And so did two other members. I had 3 different 2-hour phone calls within about 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
And we talked as if we'd been friends all along. It was quite a connection.
Yeah.
And this is despite the different types of disabilities that are out there. We have a few stroke victims, some auto crashes, some other accidents, a few combats which we don't talk about beyond that, just the fact that they're combat wounded. We have a couple with birth defects. There's a multiple sclerosis in there, a cerebral palsy for a couple, spina bifida I've encountered, and other issues that have had someone who never walked a day in their life.
Yeah.
But they all have a story to tell, and they're interested in mine at the same time.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what makes you have so much in common? I mean, it sounds like you all kind of come at this from different places, different reasons, but you've got what seems like a shared experience, right?
Exactly. And that we bowl, there are several people who were, before their disability took place, they were really high average bowlers. 2 of them are on our board of directors. And then we have some that only bowled out of wheelchairs. Some that didn't take up bowling until they became a wheelchair user and took up bowling just to try it, and surprised they did quite well with it.
Yeah. If there was maybe one thing or 2 things that you wish maybe more people knew or were aware of about wheelchair bowling, maybe like the thing that you were talking about, toes were over the line, but that's okay as long as the wheels aren't. What would those things be?
Well, in my case, it's more that anyone can bowl one way or another. If you remember me talking about these special high cambered sports chairs that are out there, and you need that to play a sport like basketball, tennis, touch football, and so on, you can bowl with your everyday chair in just about every case. We have a few people that use a snap handle ball because they can't, for whatever reason, either an injured hand or a stroke where they don't have the gripping ability. They might use a snap handle ball.
Sure.
And we have a couple that use a ramp, but still anyone can bowl, and you can still get on the approach. There are people that might have say, well, I can't bowl like I used to. I want to tell people like that, try it anyway.
Yeah.
I would love nothing more than to get a flyer of our organization into every league secretary's kit that comes out from the association every year. We have a flyer that we're developing, and hopefully next season we'll have that out. And if you know somebody in a wheelchair that used to bowl, bring them out. And we might be able to find someone nearby that they might be able to hook up with, and see if we can figure out a way to help them get a ball down the lane and knock down a few pins.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's a great point, because I can think of, just sitting here, at least a few who, bowled in their younger years, realized, that level of success and stopped doing it, and are kind of a little tentative about getting back into it for fear that they don't get back up to that level. It doesn't feel like it did, but there's a joy in this sport for more reasons than just, oh, I average X, or, I can do Y.
Right. Well, a big thing in my case was the first time I reached several milestones. It only took me 4 months, and in that case, my second wheelchair tournament, to get my first 200 game.
Wow.
I almost wished I'd shared you do a photograph of that game, because in the middle of that game, I had a gutter 1 frame in the middle of that game. The they decided to announce a 50-50 award in the middle of the game. It was the final game of the 15-game qualifier. It was my first time bowling in the A division. And yet I had enough strikes on both ends of the game that when I struck in the 10th frame, I looked up and I've got 200. And it was a very emotional moment for me.
Yeah.
Going along later on, this past January, it took me almost 6 years to get my first 600.
Okay.
And I was up in the 10th frame, and again, being a mathematician, I knew enough that 8 and 1 or a 9 miss was enough for 6. And I just get up there and throw a ball and let the 10 pin. And I was never happier to see a 10 pin. I turned around and looked back at my teammates, and I held up this to let them know that I had a 600 at that moment. Got up there and made the 10 pin, which is the toughest single pin spare for me to make for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Then I threw a strike to finish out a 612 series.
Wow.
It was a big event for me.
Yeah.
And then as I go down, because I'm the one who does all the scorekeeping, I sat down started to write down the scores for the match. And all of a sudden I hear the PA system. Now, again, I mentioned coaching. I didn't tell you that I actually coached a high school at one time.
Oh.
And one of the guys who I coached that year happened to be the secretary of the league. All of a sudden I hear his voice on the intercom. He has carte blanche at this bowling center to just go back there and hop on and needs to announce anything, a personal high. And he brought tears to my eyes as he announced the 3 games that I had for my 612. My teammate at the time happened to have Down syndrome, and he was consoling me as if I had just lost something. He said, "Frank, it's okay." And it was just, as I'm trying to write this down, it really brought the tears out when he started announcing all that. So because I took on and decided to stay with bowling, I still had those milestones I could hit.
Yeah.
Of course, now I'm looking for my second 600, and maybe I'll get it this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll get it. Just got to believe you will, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So the American Wheelchair Bowling Association, how big a membership are we talking here?
I'd have to look at the membership list. I don't handle the membership end of things as much as everything else. We can get close to 50 people out of our big national level tournaments. We probably have a total of 100 to 150 life members and renewing annual members. And I still continue to send the newsletter, even if they haven't maintained their membership. Why not?
Yeah.
If we come to their area, they can still come out, reestablish their membership. I'd like to see more people involved, and I think that we can. It's part of the things I'd like to do is I try to promote our organization as much as possible, like I'm doing at this very moment.
Yeah.
See more people.
Yeah. What was there a particular time or circumstance that led to you becoming secretary or putting your hat in the ring for that?
Well, I was interested in improving the turnaround of scoring for these tournaments. We'd had a kind of a clunky spreadsheet put together, and I said, you know what, I can put together something a little better. And I want to be more successful than I thought I would be. And I started to mention doing some scorekeeping work on that. And I was talking to our treasurer about it, and he says, you realize you're not aware of this, but our current secretary is not going to stay on after his term is up. You think you might be willing to do it? I says, you know what, I might as well. And as things turned out, the league where I was secretary happened to fold at the same time that the election was going on. So I really had not that much downtime in between. So I wouldn't want to be a secretary of a league as well as secretary of a national organization at the same time. So I have those two things balancing out.
Yeah. What does that position entail? What are your duties as secretary, and how much of a time commitment is it?
Well, it's it's as much time as I want to put into it. I do prepare the newsletter, maintain the member. Well, I'd say I don't maintain the membership list as much, but I do have the email list of everybody to get the newsletter out to them, promote the organization, and again, build the spreadsheets as well as I do. It's a rewarding thing though to do that. We have quarterly board meetings as well as an annual face-to-face meeting at our national every year, and that's. I don't have a count of hours. I don't punch a clock. I just when I have free time to delve into a project, I grab it, take my laptop, and just sit down and just do some work on it. Sometimes sometimes I'm doing an email thing with people asking questions for the next tournament or whatever happens to be necessary.
Sure. And as you said, the goal is to increase membership, kind of get this thing, continuing with its momentum. If I recall from what you sent me, it's been around since, I believe, the early 60s. What does it take to increase that membership? What does it take to keep this organization moving in the direction that you want it to be moving in?
Yeah, going back to just the idea that anyone can bowl and that we exist, and that there is an opportunity for a sport that doesn't require as much of a gear as maybe the other sports might. Fortunately, we can bowl. I could get on the lanes right now with the league, and I can be the only wheelchair member. Other sports, you can only do it with all wheelchair people. So we have a thing where I can get on the lane. Friday night, we're going to have a up-down where we're going to have 3 or 4. I think in this case, they're going to have 4 standing bowlers on the team and a wheelchair bowler as their captain. We'll do 3 games of no tap as a fundraiser. And it's just a lot of fun being around in an environment like that. Yeah. I think if people realize that they could bowl or that a wheelchair person could bowl, they might say, hey, even though you're in a wheelchair, we might be able to find a way for you to get a ball down the lane and have some fun with it.
Yeah. Sounds fun. And the camaraderie, like you said, do you feel like it's different now than it was in your earlier years? Or do we all, as participants in this sport, kind of feel the same thing?
Well, it's definitely different. Of course, my relationship with my teammates on the high school team is one thing, but of course we're all adolescents at the time, so we have those issues, of course. And the college is different as well, but we're young adults now. The different leagues I've met different characters, and some of them have been wonderful to have in the lane. Some have been an absolute pain, but you can find that anywhere.
Yep.
But the one thing is that we have a camaraderie, and every one of us is overcoming some kind of medical issue that's put us in a wheelchair, but that we still strive to make things happen and have a good time with it.
Yeah. And that's the most important thing is, to have that joy, because that's what keeps me in bowling. I'm assuming it keeps you folks in too. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, we are getting closer to that hour mark. And since you know the format of the show this well, you won't be surprised when I play this.
Let's go off the sheet. Challenge a bowler to appear on a future episode.
I would like to challenge Will Madison.
I would say Diana Zavulova.
The better Russo, Lauren Russo.
We're looking for anyone who has a passion for the sport and a unique story to tell.
So Yvonne Bennett comes on the show. She challenges Joey. Joey comes on the show. He challenges you. And now Frank Goebel, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
Like both of them, I'm going to give you 3 to go off the sheet, the full 10th frame. And and Joey is a mechanic as well as a bowler and nominated another mechanic. I'm going to nominate a wheelchair bowler that I spoke to just last week. He and I become very good friends. His name is Kyle Kennan out of New Jersey. He has an interesting way of getting a ball down the lane, which I'm going to leave out, but I will share that with you off the feed afterward, because it can be a very easy way to introduce him. I think he will take it because he's he's going to see me do this and see that it's very doable. But he's got such an interesting way of getting the ball down the lane that might introduce somebody who might need additional help that I haven't disclosed yet.
Okay.
So we have that as well. The thing about Kyle is that last year's tournament, he was the scratch champion. So I'm going to be competing against him. I watched him bowl a 246 next to me at the same time I shot a game in the 190s. So he's got about a 20 pin advantage on me from a league average standpoint.
Yeah.
And when you see how he gets the ball down the lane, you're going to be amazed. So I will share that with you off camera once we're all done.
Gotcha.
My second person is someone that I hope is watching tonight. I have joined during the summer. This is run year round. There is a challenge league in my area where bowlers can bowl as often or as rarely as they'd like. They'll get 4 games on a different challenge pattern every week, known as the Capital District Challenge League. They're bowling at a center that converted to strings as the summer ended last year, so I didn't get to bowl on that until this past season started. Eric Moret has been running this thing for over 355 different weeks with a different challenge pattern. I've used this and his coaching to develop my the depth of my game, and he's done some lessons with me. I'm gonna do a couple more. He really believes in me, but he creates an opportunity for a lot of youth bowlers to earn some scholarship money to bowling these weekly events. It's actually a mini tournament every week. 4 games on a sport pattern, followed by a 20-pinned 2-ball playoff on a bracket format that's determined by pair leaders and at-large leaders. It is a very highly followed thing. I have a lot of friends, new friends, just from being a part of that. So I wish Eric would come out and talk about what he does. My third one is someone who I remember I said that I had bowled I had coached a high school league or team for 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And of all those bowlers, only one of them is still bowling. This man, Matt Megan, happens to be the secretary treasurer of the league that I bowled that 600 series. He was my teammate back in 1999 when I bowled my 300. He has a number of 300s and 1 or 2 800s of his own. He's been the secretary treasurer for a long time. He and I were, when I was secretary for the 20 years I did, he was the treasurer for a number of those seasons as well. So we've worked together. We've done more things together. And I would love to have him come on because he finds a way to include the high average bowler as well as the low average. He will list off so many personal bests and other milestones over the course of a season of this league, even though it has averages from 90 all the way up to 220.
Wow.
And he's close to that 210.
Okay.
He would be a great person to come on if he would.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. Kyle, Eric, Matt, I hope you see this because I think each one of them is uniquely wonderful. And I love that they all have the different connection with you. So that's really cool. And I would be, I'd be honored to have any or all 3 of you on the show in the future. If you're interested in taking Frank up on his challenge, feel free to reach out. You can find me on Facebook or email bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com, and we will certainly make that happen. Our next live stream is coming up on Monday, kind of a short turnaround for me. Back in April, I did a live stream at the Midwest Senior Classic event in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I was, privileged enough to do that live stream. And at that event, a gentleman named Scott Olson came over and told me, you have got to have Gino Arntz on your show. He said, this guy has done everything in the Lacrosse Wisconsin Association. He is an association Hall of Famer. He's been one of the best in that town for many, many years. And he has sold a car to just about everyone in that town, maybe even in the 608 area code. He's sold thousands of automobiles. But Gino will come on our show on Monday, June 30th, 7 p.m. Central. Hope everyone will be able to tune in either live or on replay. And looks like we got a couple comments right here at the end. Vincent Chen says, hello, the Fef and Frank. And he says, oops, looks like I am too late. No, you caught me right at the end here. So hello to you, Vincent. Glad to see you on live. Yeah, we had a great conversation here with Frank, and I should mention the top comment here from Shaggy Productions. That's my son. He got on early, and, you know, good to see it. At least he's paying attention, you know, Dad's doing. But Frank, best of luck at this tournament in Omaha. Really glad that you got there safely, and have a great weekend of bowling ahead of you. And yeah, future success in the association and beyond.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. Anybody wishes to look into us, we are at awba.org. I'm also very active in several Facebook groups, including a couple of the USBC discussion groups, the Bowling Science Forum. I'm also very active on Reddit. I have Smokey Frank for a handle there. Smokey spelled with an E-Y at the end. Sorry about that falling out.
Oh, that's all right.
But I'm very reachable through info at awba.org as well.
Yeah. And yeah, best of luck in getting that organization continuing to grow. We hope all those wheelchair bowlers find a great outlet, you know, to continue with the sport. And it sounds like you guys have a great thing going to support each and every one of them. So that's great to see. Best of luck to the others too, who are competing this weekend in Omaha and everywhere else, really. And hope everyone has a great week, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you for watching Bowling with the Fef. Pound the like button and subscribe button. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and it's free. Bowling with the Fef is brought to you by Chip Magnet. Raise your snack standards.
Jerry's Score More Bowling Supply inside Wagner's Lane. So Eau Claire, Wisconsin area's leader in bowling products and services since 1988. And Visionary Video Hub. Video with impact.
Email bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com with questions or to appear on the show. You can also reach out on your favorite social media platform.